It's time to meet baseball's most tragic hero, a man who won championships, defied the odds, but in the end, fame, alcohol, and betrayal consumed him. His name was Billy Martin, and this is the dark truth of the man they called Billy the Kid. He grew up in a poor, rough neighborhood called West Berkeley. At school, he was teased for his looks and glasses, so he learned to fight back, which developed his fiery temper. But growing up poor in a bad neighborhood with constant street fights also shaped his toughness on the field. He would later say, "I had 2 strikes against me before I ever got to the plate." Despite all that, he dreamed big, saying, "I'm going to play for the Yankees." At 16, he was discovered by Casey Stengel, the legendary Yankees manager, who brought him to New York, defying the front office, who thought he was too small and scrawny to make it. Billy Martin joined the team as a 17-year-old rookie in 1946, and there he formed a legendary bond with Mickey Mantle, both on the field as teammates and off the field as close friends. He was known as the scrappy, fearless player who made up for a lack of superstar talent with grit and determination. He had a reputation for diving for tough line drives and making spectacular defensive plays. In the 1952 World Series, he hit a line drive off Brooklyn's Ralph Branca that bounced off the right field wall and allowed the winning run to score. But it was his defensive play that people remember most. In Game 7 of the 1953 World Series, with the bases loaded and 2 outs, he dived full length to snare a hard-hit grounder that would have scored at least 1 run. "When I dove for that ball," he said afterward, "I knew I had to get it. It was the biggest play of my career." He became famous almost overnight, and that meant fame and spotlight, but also cracks. There were fights, drinking, and plenty of tabloid troubles. In 1957, he got into a massive fight at the Copacabana nightclub in New York City. And when the club owner tried to kick him out, he took a swing at him. When cops came to break it up, he bit one of them. He was charged with assault, fined $1,000 and sentenced to 60 days in jail, although he served only 18. It was enough for the Yankees to trade him away. And even though he went on to win 3 World Series titles with other teams, he never forgot that night or the heartbreak that never healed. "That was the end of my life in New York," he said. And it really was, because it was the beginning of the end. As a manager, Billy Martin was a genius strategist whose teams played exciting, aggressive baseball. But he was also a fiery, combative manager who got into physical fights with owners, umpires, players, coaches, you name it. His teams were known for Billy Ball, an exciting but often chaotic style of baseball that featured lots of stealing, bunting, and hit and runs. But it was high-risk, high-reward stuff that often left fans on the edge of their seats. But it was his conflicts with George Steinbrenner, the bombastic owner of the Yankees, that became a national drama. And then there was Reggie Jackson, the star slugger, who was both friend and rival. Their conflicts dominated headlines. Then there were the 5 times he was fired and rehired by the Yankees. Each return was more destructive than the last. 3 marriages that ended in divorce, several more failed relationships, more scandals and more fights. All the while, his alcohol addiction deepened. He was increasingly alone. Friends and family worried about him. His closest ties were with his horse. He could often be found on his horse farm in Kentucky, isolated and battling inner demons. Then came the phone call in December 1989. Steinbrenner invited him to come to Tampa to manage the Yankees again. He was excited about the opportunity, but maybe too excited. On Christmas Eve, he got into a car with some friends and headed to the airport. They were driving in icy conditions and lost control of the car. It crashed into a ditch just 200 yards from Martin's home. He was taken to the hospital where he died at 61. The question of who was driving the car is still debated, but the tragedy is not. He died just steps away from his driveway, a Yankee legend gone too soon. Fans remember him as a genius manager and a fighter who embodied Yankee pride. But he was also a man destroyed by his demons, forever at war with himself. In the end, that may be the saddest story of all. Today, his number 1 is retired by the Yankees, and he's honored at Monument Park at Yankee Stadium. But ask any fan, and they will tell you, Billy Martin wasn't just a Yankee. He was a symbol of brilliance, chaos, and the price of living too fast. If you enjoyed this video, Check out the series. See you next time.